Hi everyone, Amy here. It's been a while since I've done a bedtime musing where I just want to talk about a topic briefly, and don't really feel like getting in front of the camera, so um, I shoot it while I'm just lying here resting in bed. So I thought one thing I might start doing with my bedtime musings is do every once in a while fun facts. I like learning about different things, just um, different bits of trivia, and I think I've become a walking font of useless information. I kind of feel like Cliff from Cheers. I think I have a story for just about any topic, and I don't know if that's endearing to people around me or if it's annoying, but it is what it is. So a few weeks ago, I saw the Alice in Wonderland quote, "We're all mad here," and it made me wonder where that phrase came from. And it actually does not come from Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll. So I was going to read you an article about its origin, and then tell you how it actually relates to my life. So the article, let me pull it up here. Is from the History Channel, written by Elizabeth Nix. Okay. Lewis Carroll's 1865 novel, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, famously features an eccentric character called the Hatter, who's referred to in the story as Mad and became popularly known as the Mad Hatter. However, the phrase mad as a hatter, used to describe someone who's crazy or prone to unpredictable behavior, didn't originate with Carroll. Instead, the expression is linked to the hat-making industry and mercury poisoning. In the 18th and 19th centuries, industrial workers used a toxic substance, mercury nitrate, as part of the process of turning the fur of small animals such as rabbits into felt for hats. Workplace safety standards often relaxed, and prolonged exposure to mercury caused employees to develop a variety of physical and mental ailments, including tremors, dubbed Hatter's shakes, speech problems, emotional instability, and hallucinations. In Connecticut, mercury-induced tremors were called the Danbury Shakes, after the city of Danbury, which was a leading center for hat making during the 19th century and into the early years of the 20th century. By the 1920s, only a handful of headwear manufacturers remained in the place once billed as the hat capital of the world. In the U.S., the use of mercury in the production of felt finally was banned in the early 1940s, which that's kind of interesting, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Researchers have suggested that Boston Corbett, a hat industry worker who killed John Wilkes Booth, President Abraham Lincoln's assassin, might have suffered from poor mental health due to mercury poisoning. Corbett, who'd been employed as a hat maker since he was a young man, became a religious zealot and in 1858 castrated himself with a pair of scissors as a way to curb his libido. He went on to serve in the Union Army during the Civil War, and after Lincoln was shot by Booth on April 14, 1865, at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., Corbett and his regiment, the 16th New York Cavalry, were sent to track down the gunman who was on the lam. On April 26, the soldiers surrounded Booth in a Virginia barn. However, Corbett disobeyed orders to capture the fugitive alive and instead shot and killed him. Corbett was cleared of blame by the military and lauded by many in the public as a hero for his role in avenging the president's death. Eventually, he resumed working in the hat industry in the Northeast before moving to Kansas in 1878, where he lived a solitary existence. As a homesteader in 1887, he landed in a mental asylum after threatening a group of people at the Kansas State House with a gun. The following year, this possible Mad Hatter, who was then in his 50s, escaped the facility and soon disappeared for good. So that is where the phrase mad as a hatter came from. Mercury poisoning. So I'm going to open up a couple of other articles here. let's see. Some of the other symptoms of mercury poisoning the hat makers experienced were loss of coordination, slurred speech, loosening of teeth, memory loss, depression, irritability, and anxiety, dubbed the Mad Hatter syndrome. So now I find it interesting that they actually stopped using mercury in the hats in 1940. But here are some places where mercury can still be found today. Pesticides, fertilizers, amalgam, silver fillings, drinking water, tap and well, auto exhaust, felt, which is kind of interesting because they said they stopped using that in the 1940s. Plumbing, piping, bleached flour, processed foods, fabric softeners, calomel, talc, body powder. And I just want to interject this. One of the reasons why I started my own bath and body product business is because I became very aware of a lot of the toxic chemicals in our bath and body products. And there is a database called Skin Deep Database where you can input certain ingredients in products, and it will give you a hazard rating from 0 to 10. 0 being no known hazard. Once you get up to 10, we're talking about carcinogens, endocrine interrupters. So yeah, talc is actually not a healthy product. Let's see. Also, paint pigments and solvents, cinnabar used in jewelry, laxatives, cosmetics, and interjecting again, that's one thing that I discovered from the database, that a lot of cosmetics today even actually contain mercury. Floor waxes and polishes, wood preservatives, adhesive, batteries, air conditioner filters, and fish. So I find that very interesting. And go down here, it says that if your amalgams, your amalgam fillings are not removed properly, they can seriously affect your health and the environment. Because it says that when they're removed, the mercury becomes vaporized, which allows it to enter your lungs. This is the fastest route for damage to be done. Also, when removing the mercury-laden amalgams, the mercury now can enter our wastewater and our streams if proper protocols for disposal aren't followed. And this is very interesting to me. It says the reason it's so concerning is that everyone doesn't have the genetic makeup to eliminate heavy metals like mercury from their body. The accumulation of the toxic metal, I think I'm trying to talk too fast and I'm really tired, can and will affect those who cannot detoxify themselves. And now here's where this connects to my life. So I made a video several years ago about mercury poisoning, and I want to preface this by saying I am not anti-vax. This is just an observation that I've made in my own life and through my own research. So I am disabled with chronic fatigue syndrome, and one of my theories is I believe that as a child, I was born in 1970, I believe I was given too many vaccines at once, and it overwhelmed my immune system and it compromised it. What's interesting is back then, mercury was contained in most of the vaccines that we got as kids. It was actually a preservative that contained mercury. So what's interesting is I also theorize, and again, I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV or YouTube, but this is just through my own personal research and what I've observed. In the 1980s, there was basically an outbreak of chronic fatigue syndrome in the Lake Tahoe area. So through my research, I went back and I tried to figure out, okay, what was going on in Lake Tahoe in the 80s. And I was able to look and see that there may have been really high levels of mercury in the water, and people, would consume the fish. And that's actually one way that you can still get mercury poisoning to this day, is consuming, and I think you have to consume like a really large quantity of fish, but I believe the actor Jeremy Piven actually contracted mercury poisoning this way. But so I think there were large levels of mercury in Lake Tahoe at the time. And then for some reason my brain was like, what about forest fires? Fires. Just on a whim, I looked that up, and fires can actually give off mercury. And around that time, there were a lot of fires back in the 80s. So this is just my theory. I could be off base. I might be wrong. But one thing that I did find, let me try to pull that up. Screenshot here. Right here it says studies have shown that chronic mercury exposure from various sources, including dental amalgams, is associated with numerous health complaints, including fatigue, anxiety, and depression. And these are among the main symptoms that are associated with chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. So I thought that connection was very interesting, because so many of the symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia really mimic mercury poisoning to a T. So who would have thought that, my life would have some kind of connection to the Mad Hatter? But I think I'll start doing these fun little facts, maybe at least once a week, just on whatever catches my attention. But I hope you enjoyed this little audio video, and have a good night.